Hello everyone, hope you all are doing good. And in this video, we are going to cover what is Agile and the differences between Agile, Scrum, and Sprint because this is something very commonly mistaken for, and people don't actually understand what is the actual difference between the Sprint and Scrum and how are they related to Agile. And before I start, like this is going to be the agenda that we are going to cover what is agile, what like before studying anything, we have to first understand why it came to picture and what was the existing issue which agile actually solved for us. So after that, we will see what is the relation between agile and scrum and different kind of ceremonies in agile and the differences between two and how DevOps is related to like agile. Okay, so let's start. And like there has been a request regarding all the PDFs. So what like after this video, what I'm going to do, I'm going to upload this PDF on my Telegram channel. So if you haven't joined it, like just click on the link and there you can join the group. And in that, like I'll provide this PDF to you. Okay, and if you're not aware that I have like opened my Instagram channel, so just to be a little informal over there and just follow me over there if you are not currently doing so. Okay, so let's start. First thing is that like we have to understand why do we actually need agile. So as you all know that like initially we have waterfall model and the problem with waterfall model is that it was not iterative and it was like step by step. So after like we are where is my pointer? Yeah. So what happens here is that like requirements, okay, and we are going to architect that how we are going to develop, and after that we are going to develop the product and like test and deploy or ship. Okay. So this was our waterfall model. So the problem with waterfall model is that like at the time of development, if we have a change, so we have to start this process. Like there was no way we can change the requirement in between. Okay, we have to start it from here. And similarly, like what was happening in V model is that once we start like starting from here at the same time we will be doing the documentation and once we are developed with the code, so we are going to test it, and with the each test whatever the documentation which we have made here, we are going to verify. uh, Okay, so this was like verification and this was validation part. We are going to validate whatever we have developed it according to the requirements which were presented initially over here. Okay, so I have covered this waterfall and V model in very detailed in my manual testing course. So if you haven't watched it, like click on the I button and like just go through a refresher and like the problems, the main disadvantages of both these models were that like in between, if we have to change the requirement, we have to start over it again, like from point zero. Okay, and this problem was somehow solved by the spiral model, but the problem with the spiral model was like this was the first iteration, so it was also an iterative model, you can say that. And so just for the sake of like understanding, these spirals are kind of sprints. Okay, but it is not actually sprint because our main goal was to develop the whole product in one go. Okay, just like we used to do in the waterfall and V model. Okay, and let's say after there is a requirement change, so there is going to be one more like spiral, and with the increase in radius, this is going to increase the cost of project, and this was also not viable. Okay, and one more thing was there that everything was monolithic. So what do you mean by monolithic and microservice? So monolithic is something, uh, let's say, A, B, and C. Okay, these are different modules, and they are all dependent on each other. So let's say if tomorrow B fails, then C is automatically going to fail, and like A is going to be overburdened with the outputs. So alternatively, like A is going to fail, and similarly our whole application is going to fail. So that was monolithic. And how we have solved this problem in microservices is that like we have different components, but they are all independent of each other. Okay, so there is like we have introduced some kind of buffer in between. So let's say if B goes down, so whatever A is producing, it can buffer it over here, and in the meantime we can fix the B. And once B is up, it is going to process all the information that was in the buffer. And similarly, like we are going to like they will be not a downtime. Okay, every module is going to be independent of each other. So that is how, let's say, if you have seen the Facebook right now, so if there is an issue in messaging, then that doesn't mean that feed will not work. Okay, so sometimes there are some kind of bugs in messaging, but that doesn't stop us from posting or like commenting over the Facebook feed. So this is a kind of microservice architecture in which each component is independent of each other, right? So our main question was, why do we need agile? So the problem with spiral model was that like with each iteration, our cost is going to be increased. So what we have developed is that agile is kind of a philosophy which believes that like we don't have to like follow this architecture, and our main goal is to develop the product. Okay, so there are like four principles, or four or five principles of agile. What they discuss is that like you don't have to focus on documentation, just focus on the end product. And like we don't care how many people are actually getting engaged. All we like, the main focus of agile is to get the work done. Okay, and that is what we are going to see in next slide. So what we have discussed in agile is that agile is a philosophy. Okay, and there are certain like frameworks that implements agile, and scrum is a framework. Okay, so when someone asks you what is scrum, so just tell that scrum is a framework that implements agile. Okay, agile methodology. And similarly there are different like other frameworks like kanban and steam programming. So like we are not going to get in detail on these two because there are hardly any use. Like kanban still is kind of bored. So let me give you a brief idea about kanban, and after that we can discuss the scrum. so what happens in kanban is that, let's say you divide so this is development, this is testing, and this is deployment. Okay, so you have certain like boards over here. So once, let's say B is developed, so we are going to ship it in the testing part. The B will come here, and after like similarly we are done with C, so we will put C here, and in the meantime like we can put E and F also here. Okay, so this way like the development is working, and similarly testing is working, and it's dependent on the development. And similarly, like let's say we have tested B, and we can deploy B over here. So like everything is dependent on each other, and no one is free in the anytime. Okay, so this was kanban. Like we have different boards, and once you are completed, once development is completed, they are going to push their board in the testing one, and once testing is completed, they are going to push their board into like deployment one. Okay, so this was kanban. But in scrum, what happens is that It believes in iterative philosophy, that we are going to develop a product in pieces. So that is sprint one, this is sprint two, and this is sprint three. So what was the like focus area of sprint is that after each sprint we should be in a, like, it doesn't matter whether like we have made 100 line of code or one line of code. Even if you have developed one line of code, that should mean something, and at the end of sprint we should be able to showcase it to the like our product owners or higher authorities that okay, like we have developed this thing in our sprint. Okay. And in the sprint team, we have a product owner. So he or she is kind of a manager who whole soul is the like owner of the product. That's how the name comes, product owner. And after that, we have Scrum Master. So the like the function of Scrum Master is to like drive the daily scrums and see if like anyone, like if no one is stuck in some, like everyone is doing their work properly, and they're not stuck anywhere. And like these are the two which are like the end guys who actually develop the product and develop and test the product. Okay, so it's kind of same thing. And one more thing regarding the product owner, that we have the backlog in which what happens is that like if we have to develop Facebook, okay, so we have to develop the login functionality first. Okay, so this is a login epic, and in the meantime you can also learn about what is like epic user story and task. Okay, so epic is something which is like a higher kind of like a general idea on what we are going to develop. Okay, and user stories is something which is going to fit, like a single user story is like a sprint can have one or more user stories, but we cannot fit a single epic in a sprint. Okay, so epic is something that is not like it is a kind of a smaller product in itself. Okay, and user story is something which we can ship, which we can develop in a single sprint. Okay, and how we are going to like achieve the user story, we are going to break it into further task. Okay, so like the entire login functionality is a epic in itself, and in that what the development is going to do is that they are going to make two boxes, then there is a logo. After that we have to click on like click button also. Okay, so like username, password, and in the similar like the testing team will also develop these user stories regarding how we are going to test it. So like that is in the future user stories, but initially what the product owner is going to do, like we have to first develop the login functionality, right? So once this is developed, then obviously we are going to test it. So this is this will be going, the testing will be going into the sprint 2, and like in sprint 1 we are going to develop it, and we can like he is going to see and discuss with the team that whether we can develop and test it in the same sprint. So a sprint can have like two user stories. Okay, so that was my approach here of telling that like a sprint can have one or more user stories. Okay, and after that here comes the sprint which we were discussing in the previous part, that this is something which is deliverable. So by delivery, like at the end of sprint, we should be like most probably we should be in a position to showcase something to our like higher authorities. Okay, we'll not say end user, and maybe like he or she can also see it, but like we'll not focus on that much. So what are the four, like if you go on the agenda, So there are different agile ceremonies which happen. So let's discuss it that before, like at the starting of the sprint, we are going to plan this sprint that like what are the user stories we are going to pick up from the backlog. So backlog refinement happens in every sprint, and in that, like we refine that, okay, what are we going to like pick up in the next, not pick up, but in what order we are going to achieve the target. And in that, like on the day zero of sprint, we are going to do sprint planning, and in that, like what we are going to achieve this sprint, and like do we have anything that is stopping us from achieving this sprint. And after that, like this is going to happen daily, like daily scrum, and this will happen, like it is also called stand up, in which like it is of 15 minutes, and in that we discuss that what we have done like today, and is there any issue which is like stopping us from achieving our end target. And in the sprint review, we showcase what we have developed in this sprint, and this is in the end. And after everything is completed, this is also in the end. And in this retrospective, we discuss that what we have done good, what didn't went well, and how we can improve. Okay, so this is what happens in a single sprint. And one more thing, like if you, if we can understand in a simple term, that let's say, okay, right now what happens is that like NHAI builds the highway. Okay, so let's say this is Delhi and this is Mumbai. So like earlier what used to happen, that like they used to start from here and develop, like with time they ended here. But now what they are doing is that they divide the sections and give it to different contractors. Okay, maybe this is going to contractor A, this is going to contractor B. So what happens in the end is that, like they will start working from here and till here. So parallelly, like B is starting from here and ending it here. So this improves the speed and quality, because by the time earlier, by the time this used to get completed, this was in a bad phase. Okay, so like this was the idea of sprint, which I want to tell you. Now coming to what is like DevOps and Agile. Okay, and further, like after that, we are going to see this picture and see how different sections of the DevOps interact with each other. So in Agile, our work ends when we have like deployed the application. Okay, so not actually deploy, but let's say how we can start that there is a product, we have planned it, and then in this sprint we have developed it and tested, and it has moved to the next phase. Okay, so we are completed till here. But as the name suggests, here our focus is on development plus operations. So this is development plus operations, and like entire life cycle. And here our focus is only on speed. That is like to get the work done. But here we also focus on quality, and like this will give us a better picture that till here. Okay, this is a photo. I cannot write on it, or I can. Yeah. So like this is the development part. Okay, development ends here, and the release part and deployment and operate, this was taken care of by a different team. That is the operations team. Okay, But now, like with the DevOps, we only took care of this part, and like in the planning, after that we used to code with Git, or like we put our repositories over here. Then the bug can be done in Jira. Okay, Confluence is also a part. Then the Maven is used to build whatever the artifacts, like whatever the code we have built, we generate artifacts with the help of Maven. And like testing is Selenium and JUnit. Okay, uh, whatever the code we have developed, so is it working fine as an application on a whole? And the releases like Jenkins. Okay, so the CI/CD parts comes into picture, the continuous integration, that like if we are pushing our code, it is like there are certain checks, and after that it is going directly into the master. And once it is deployed in like one test bed, let's say in the development, so the continuous development take care that how it is going to be deployed in production. Okay, and this is also done with the help of Dockerization. We make containers and ship the product to the end client. Okay, and after that, the operation part and the monitoring part. Once we have like developed everything and shipped it to the end customer, how we are going to monitor. So this is like Datadog and Splunk are the examples of it. Okay, so I hope with this picture we are able to differentiate between what was development before and how the DevOps is actually bridging the gap between like not like bridging the gap, but actually uh, like combining the development and the operation part. Okay, so this was it, guys, with the DevOps. And like if you are done with this, so I think you should be in a position to answer all these questions. So just go through it, and like I'll be providing the answers in the next video. Okay, and how you like the video, just comment down below and let me know. And like again repeating, guys, that you can find this PDF on my Telegram channel. So just like join the group, and in that I'll provide you this PDF. Thank you, guys.